The Long Way Home, Chapter 2, Asking Questions. Vincent had dumped the kids in the pirate galley and told them to gather what they could find that was edible. He also requested that they try and make sure that everyone could eat what they got. He figured that would keep them busy for a good long while. He made his way to the room containing the corpse of the human pirate he killed to find something to calm his nerves and quiet the ache within him. Bottles and cans clinked and clattered as he kicked them across the deck until he found one with liquor within again. He thumbed the cork out with a bass pop and took a long pull of the cheap vodka within. Vincent sank down along the wall until he sat on the deck, in a brief respite offered by the alcohol. A fucking George, he thought to himself, as he took another pull of vodka. Fucking stuck-up Republicans are bad enough, but a fucking George, fuck. He sighed and took yet another pull and growled, He's still just a kid. He's still just a kid who needs help. Vincent's cruel mind conjured up an image of Cal bristling with youthful pride, with the very first fish he'd caught on his own when he told himself that Jason George was a kid in need. He took another pull of vodka to banish the image. Jason had watched Vincent leave after his gruff orders to figure out what won't kill everyone and pack it in the long way. Don't touch my shit. He'd watched and not said anything. He'd seen that look in a man's eye before. He'd seen it last on repose when the family had buried his uncle Jeremy. He'd seen the look on Jeremy's CO and his squad mates, and in his own grandfather. He decided to let it lie for the moment and began. First meat, Vi, Tran, and I will need a pretty hefty amount of meat, and I'm sorry, but I don't know how much you need. Stowaway leaned against the wall, very pointedly not looking at either of the other children, or the sanguine smears on the deck, and clicked his beak rapidly. Come on, man, Jason murmured with a low suggestion of asking, help us out here. Most meat is fine, Stowaway grumbled sourly. I don't do much. Don't worry about it. Uh-huh, Jason said, as he looked at the taller boy up and down. Say, how old are you? 9, almost 10. You gonna just keep bugging me with questions? Jason opened the fridge and started looking for likely meat and said, You're allowed to ask questions too, dude. You aren't in a class or anything. Can I ask you something? I asked from inside the cupboard. Like I said, I'm not your teacher or headmaster, or whatever your school has. Are you from that George family? If you mean the George family that was part of the founding of the Lost Boys, then aye. That got Stowaway to stop pretending that he wasn't paying attention and asked, You're related to the Godslayer? Jason waved his hand and picked up a package of what looked like a poultry while he looked carefully at the signs of decay. Great-great-granddad John was part of the team that killed the AI pretending to be a god. It's not impressive, as the legend makes it seem. Stowaway clicked his throat, and Jason thought he might be laughing or scoffing. It was hard to tell with avian xenos. Then he asked, So your whole family is going to make you join the RNI? Nobody can force another into service. Trondre spoke up from close behind him as she reached up to grab what looked like a package of cured sausage. But he said earlier that everyone would be mad at him if he didn't, Vi said nervously. Jason sighed. He'd been down his currents before, and it was never easy. He suspected that he just wasn't smart enough to explain properly, but that wouldn't stop him from trying. I was being kind of flippant. The family is, So the first thing you gotta understand is Ignitia burned. Everyone knows that, Stowaway sneered. Jason fixed him with a cold, steady look and said, No. No, they really don't. They can't know. The last chance, the return of an ethnicity and a culture nearly swallowed by history, rising from the ashes of previous ages with all of the tenacity Terrans can muster. That's what Ignitia was. Then our own people had to burn it from orbit to keep the grubs from spreading deeper into the Republic. If you can wrap your head around being one of the few boys who got off that rock before the plasma fell, if you can imagine being one of the boys who picked up a gun to make that happen, if you can fathom descending from those kinds of people who, in every generation, picked up duty to serve, then maybe you can know what I mean when I say Ignitia burned. Stowaway looked at the floor, and Vi said, that doesn't mean that you have to join the RNI. No. Some of us have joined the Navy and SAR Corps, and really, it was just my great-great-granddad Eric who wanted all his sons in the Lost Boys under his command. The old man. You're descended from him, aye. That's how ancestors work, besides. He's not the only general to get called that, Jason said, with a wary sigh that got an amused giggle out of his cousin. But that means, Stowaway began, that you're a descendant from Sneaky, Vi eagerly finished. Aye, Jason said, with a grin. Still the best nickname any one of us got. Vi's whiskers twitched in embarrassment. She said, I guess all of you are descended from Sneaky, huh? Aye, Jason said, while failing to suppress a smirk. But what if you didn't want to serve? What if you wanted to settle down and be a farmer or something? I figure the family will get me checked for brainworms, Jason said with an easy laugh. If he wanted to commission his own ship, Trandry quietly said from close beside Jason, I think everyone would get it. Doesn't matter, though. I'm not going to do that till I finish my service. Oh, Vi murmured softly. Why? Well, 'cause bad stuff happens. Houses burn down, reactors fail, station orbits destabilized, asteroids strike, quakes knock down buildings, and that's just some of the stuff that's nobody's fault. There's also bad guys out there, bad guys who steal ships, whole worlds. He shot Vi a wry grin, even people. All over the stars, people call for help every day. Who's going to answer? Not everyone can, but I want to try. How about you, Vi? I was from the Manatee Paradise, and I was going to Wote to visit my great-aunt as some first adventure. I got a little more adventure than I wanted, maybe. Don't worry, Trandry told her. Jason will look after us. Because he's just so tough, Stowaway asked sarcastically. Because I've decided that you're getting home safe. Joke's on you. I don't have one. Jason gave the Corvian boy a wry grin and said, We'll see about that. What's that supposed to mean? Trandray just answered him with a giggle of her own and said, For someone who likes legends, you don't know the best one. What's that supposed to mean? He demanded. Don't worry about it, Jason told him. The point is that I've decided we're all getting out of this mess safe, so that's what I'm going to make happen. You really think you can make something like that happen? I can sure try, Jason said as he started looking around for a box to put his haul in. We all know what I'm going to do one day. What about you, Vi? Oh, she said, as she flicked her ears and picked out of another cupboard with a box of cookies in her hands. Well, Manatee Paradise isn't just a paradise for manatees. We have all kinds of ocean life there from Terra, and it's all just so cool. So one day I want to be a marine biologist on other terraforming projects like the Manatee Paradise, so I really like it. How about you? None of your business, Stowaway answered as he sank deeper into his hunched posture. Jason gave his little cousin an encouraging touch, and she volunteered. I'm going to be a Lord Justicar one day. You? Stowaway asked derisively. Don't start that, Jason snapped. Oh, come on. I can halfway believe that you'll get in the Lost Boys. But look at her. How is she going to be a Lord Justicar when she... I said, shut up, Jason snapped again. Cheap gin glugged out of one bottle and into another as Vincent labored to more efficiently store his vital supplies. Some gin, some vodka, some whiskey, and all of it cheap and harsh. It didn't matter. It was booze, and it would keep the memories of the babe long enough to sleep. Some nights, anyway. 4 fathers wouldn't know what he knew. 4 husbands wouldn't weep as he wept. 4 for sure from his job. It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough, but it was something. The cheap hooch wasn't enough either. It was something. The refilled bottle of gin clinked against his mismatched pillows as he placed it into a battered box he'd found in the dead pirate's closet. He didn't even register the ratty stuffed toy, tarnished silver picture frame, and the broken toy car as he upended the box for its current use. He didn't even glance at the papers that fluttered across the deck in the draft created by the ship's life support systems. He knew that the pirate had been a man once, but by the time he was killed, he was only a pirate. The box dragged at his arms as he carried it back to the long way. Despite the low-G environment, that reminded him that the 2 kids were light worlders. He'd have to adjust the gravity aboard his little yacht. He'd picked up the pace a little. His vital supplies clinked and jostled in the box dolefully. In the hangar bay, he found the 4 rescue kids gathered around the loading ramp of the long way. No, only 3 of them were gathered there amongst the small pile of boxes laden with food, most of which was raw. Vincent idly wondered whether the kids thought he'd cook their meals along with saving their skins as he watched the George boy walk down the ramp, toss an empty box aside, and pick up another box. He thought as he fell into a more regular stride. The Letray girl, why he thought, or was it May? The Letray girl tried to say something to him. She was more than a little nervous, though, and maybe he didn't look too terribly inviting. I'll get the gravity sorted, he grunted as he strode up the ramp, where the George boy looked up at him with cold blue eyes. Can you regulate? The kid asked bluntly, as if he had any right to ask that kind of thing. I'm not a trooper, and you're not an officer, kid. Shut up. I'm not a great pilot, sir, the kid said bluntly. Truth is, I'm pretty bad at it. I can help you out on the bridge, but I don't get any feel for," he paused as if trying to remember something, "making ships dance. Kid, this is none of your business, isn't it? Shut up, kid. I got this. You're the only one who can. Just keep out of my way. Aye, sir. And this isn't a fucking R&I barracks. Call it with the ayes and sirs. Aye then, whatever you say, mister. Your ship." "You got a problem with me, kid?" Vincent nearly snarled at the cocky brat. "I'm trying awful hard not to, mister." "Try harder. Maybe while you're at it, pull the Republican stick out of your ass." The kid narrowed his eyes at Vincent and said, "You could get a letter of marque." "None of your business," Vincent growled. The George boy stuck out his chin and said, "You're the one with the chip on your shoulder, sippy cup." "You don't know how the world works." "Don't I? I figure you lost someone important. I figure that it's not quite the same as putting a man you looked up to in the ground in a Catholic yard on repose. I guess it's not quite like praying to Christ that you won't forget the words to your auntie's song at the next meeting of the fleets. But I figure that you know that the world is full of cruelty and bad shit. I figure that you and I aren't that special, mister." Vincent looked at the kid and saw his own cull glaring fiercely back at him. He shook his head to dispel the image and told him through a strangely tight throat, "Sorry, kid. I wasn't called for." "Sorry for what, mister? I really forgot you said anything rude," the boy said smoothly, although it looked to Vincent like the kid was making an effort to make a skull go away. Fair enough. "All right, I'll get the gravity safe for the other kids," Vincent told him. He reminded himself that Jason was still a kid who needs help getting back to a family who loves him. "Once that's done, I'll help everyone get settled in for the trip. Shouldn't be more than a couple days." End of chapter. I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you